Different date, same fate. I'm gonna knock out Jake Paul.
Mike Tyson just went wild at Jake Paul after KO in new leaked sparring footage. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson has been the talk of the town ever since this shocking matchup was announced in March. Both opponents have been firing shots at each other to build up hype for the highly anticipated bout, but Tyson's recent verbal smackdown has everybody talking. Mike has been warning Paul about this matchup from the get-go, but Jake being Jake has been letting it all slide by. If you love a good The Problem Child versus Iron Mike showdown, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Let's jump right in. Get this, Jake just got a wake-up call in his recent sparring session because the athlete was knocked out cold on the canvas. For a boxer gearing up for a fight in 2 weeks, this is not a good look. Yep, the YouTuber turned boxer is set to step into the ring with Mike Perry on July 20th. We'll get into more of that later in the video. For now, let's jump back to Jake's sparring mishap.
Пошел.
Jake's recent sparring fail didn't go unnoticed by Iron Mike. The boxing legend didn't waste any time in sharing his 2 cents. "The kid needs help. He's not even close to being ready to fight me," Mike said. "He's not wrong. You need all the help you can get when you're up against the baddest man on earth. Come on, Jake needs to work on everything from his form to his jabs." Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this matchup, it's important to look at the 2 athletes going after each other. First off, we have Mike Tyson, and his reputation precedes him. I mean, he's the guy who became the youngest heavyweight champion when he defeated Trevor Berbick on November 22nd, 1986, and that was definitely a fight for the books. Even at 58, Tyson is one of the scariest people on the canvas. Age has got nothing on him. He trains like a newbie boxer, gearing up for his debut bout, and gives every single matchup his blood, sweat, and tears. On the other hand, we've got Jake Paul, who just entered the boxing scene a couple of years ago. Jake's known for his fiery call-outs more than his skills in the ring. Love him or hate him, he's been making waves in the boxing world due to his string of victories, but the big question still remains. Is the former Disney star a legitimate boxer? I mean, he has knocked out opponents in the ring, but his opponents are mostly old and retired NBA and MMA stars. Does it really count if your best victory is against Ben Askren or Tyron Woodley? Loss of his career in one hell of a fight. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson is definitely something straight out of our wildest dreams. Who would have ever thought we'd see a boxing legend put up gloves against a boy who grew up making silly pranks and slime videos on YouTube? This isn't just any fight, it's the clash of the eras and will change everything for the sport. It's pretty obvious that Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson is a big money fight. Come on one hand, you've got yourself a boxing legend, and on the other, a YouTube sensation. Of course, this fight is going to bring in the big bucks and be a huge payday for both athletes. That's one reason why these two are stepping into the ring in the first place. Hear me out. Boxing pros believe Mike would have never agreed to the bout if it wasn't for the millions it'll bring him. But does the boxing legend need any more money? He's built himself quite a legacy during his career. Well, he's not in for the bucks, it's a whole different story. No one knows the sport quite like Mike Tyson. He has given boxing his everything since the very first day, and has completely changed the sport for the better. It doesn't end here. I'm sure the rise of influencer boxing and Jake Paul posing as a seasoned professional pisses you off. Well, here's the thing. It pissed Mike off, too. You don't want a bunch of newbies firing shots at you and saying they can knock you out cold after building the career Mike Tyson has. The biggest names in the sport fear him, so it rubbed him the wrong way when Jake walked in making delusional claims of taking him down.
I would win. Serious as a heart attack. I think he thinks that he would knock me out, and I think that is maybe the reason why he doesn't want to do the fight, because I think he wants to avoid maybe knocking me out.
He doesn't realize how good you are.
Exactly.
If he knew, maybe he would.
Maybe the fight would happen.
You think you can knock him out?
Can I ask you a question?
I think there's a very,
Whoa,
very high chance of that. He's not the same fighter that he once was, and he knows that.
Come on, Jake. It's about time you set realistic goals, because you're not taking this man down. Mike's a dangerous man. I know. Jake believes knocking him down will be child's play since the athlete is pushing 60s. Father Time doesn't spare anyone, and it sure as hell won't spare Iron Mike, right? Well, here's the thing. When you're a man who has chewed off ears in the ring before, age doesn't really play a big role. Mike's the kind of boxer who has sent opponents crashing onto the canvas with every single type of punch there is. He was a dangerous man back then, and he's a dangerous man still. Thanks to hormone replacement therapies, he's just as strong, if not more, and Jake is in for a surprise. If you ask the UFC commentator Joe Rogan, he believes that Mike only needs 70% of what he had back in the day to take the cake for this one. The fight world doesn't take Rogan's words with grains of salt. From boxing to all things MMA, he has seen it all. If he's physically capable of recapturing 70% of what he used to do, just dealing with that 90% of the power will be a problem for Paul. 70% of the physical ability and 90% of the power. Because the power is not gone, you see it when he hits the bag. The power is there 100%.
Day 2, I'm getting ready for you. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That is a man who will end Jake Paul's career in the ring. It's like Jake is gearing up for his own funeral with this bout. Well, at least his prayers for an escape plan were answered, at least for the time being. Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson was originally scheduled for July 20th at the AT&T Arena, but the bout had to be postponed due to Mike's health emergency, which gave Jake more time to prepare for the toughest fight of his career. Tyson had an ulcer flare-up on a cross-country flight from Miami to Los Angeles. The situation got bad in this highly anticipated matchup. Mike wrote in a statement, "I want to thank my fans around the world for their support and understanding during this time. Unfortunately, due to my ulcer flare-up, I have been advised by my doctor to lighten my training for a few weeks to rest and recover. My body is in better overall shape than it has been since the 1990s, and I will be back to my full training schedule soon." Jake Paul, this may have bought you some time, but in the end, you will still be knocked out and out of boxing for good. I appreciate everyone's patience and can't wait to deliver an unforgettable performance later this year. Instead of waiting for November to come by and use the time leading up to it to gear up, Jake decided to replace his opponent for July 20th and decided to go against Mike Perry instead. Smart move or a rookie mistake? Well, you tell me. As for Mike Perry, this dude is a tough man and Jake is definitely in for some challenge. Platinum Perry is a former UFC star with a record of 14-8 Neo Bare Knuckle is where he truly shines and dominates the game. Yep, Platinum is undefeated in Bare Knuckle with a record of 5-0, and it's safe to say that he's easily the league's biggest star. Now, if you're wondering about his boxing record, he's only ever stepped into the ring once against Kenneth McNeil and failed to come out on top. But that doesn't change anything because if there's anyone who can pull off an upset, he's got the motive. Perry has been asking for a chance to fight Jake Paul ever since he sparred with him before the YouTuber-turned-boxer's boxing debut. The athlete isn't like any of the old men Paul has fought before. He's in his prime and not old and crusty. Paul doesn't know this, but he's definitely in for the fight of his life. Perry wants to ruin all chances of Paul stepping into the ring with Mike Tyson. Mike Perry told Michael Bisping in an interview, "I'm trying to ruin that whole thing for him, see if they offer it to me after I knock Jake out and be like, hey, do you want to fight Mike Tyson on Netflix? That's the real win here if I can stop that, but I don't want it to hurt Mike's pockets either." There's no denying that Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul will fall into jeopardy if Paul loses to Perry. As for Jake, he's got a lot to train for after that humiliating sparring video. Losing to Perry will be a huge setback for the star, so he really needs to get his game now. I guess we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. If I were Jake, I would stop pranking people in Walmart and put in the work to prepare for the big fights instead. Jake's got a tough career in front of him, and if he wants to cement his status as a legitimate boxer, then he's got to prove himself against both the men, Tyson and Perry. So there you go, Fight World, that's all I have for you today. What do you think about Jake's new sparring footage? Fill the comment section with your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more boxing news. See you in the next video.